Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at CEB'S Treant Protector. Now this isn't any Treant Protector, it's Offlane Treant Protector. And maybe for some of you guys, hearing that brings you back. I know for me, it sort of does, to the TI where CEB actually played quite a bit of Treant Protector. I remember this clip in particular during True Sight where CEB was defending the tower and they were trying to push it with like an Ench and a bunch of heroes, and he was just like wasting their time. And it was so notable to me because it was a concept I hadn't really thought too much about at the time, which was like stalling towers. Now, it seems pretty obvious because that's like the main thing Treant Protector does, but as an offlaner and just the way he did it was so cool to me. So yeah, I was looking through Dota 2 Pro Tracker to find a cool game to talk about, and I see CEB going Orb of Venom boots into Phase boots. From there, well, by the way, he started a Wraith ban. Which is crazy. Then he bought a Veil of Discord. After Veil of Discord, goes for his Shard, then BKB, and finishes the game with a Kaya, which you would have to imagine is either turning into an E-Blade or a Kaya Sange. We'll see what he ends up going. But nonetheless, this was a crazy build. And honestly, I think there is potential. I think there's potential because I really do believe that this Wraith band on Treant Protector is like super legit. It's like really cool and legit. Also, max living armor early game is shnasty. Either way, let's get into it. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like literally with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. So starting right off the bat, you can level Leech Seed to sustain the lane. One of the coolest parts about Leech Seed is it's only 80 mana at level 1, and it heals you for a staggering 100 HP. It also pushes in the creep wave, which means that you're kind of protected by your creep wave. So for instance, against the Nature's Prophet, after casting Leech Seed, now unfortunately he gets denied twice, which is definitely just because he's against the Nature's Prophet. Like no other carry can really do this to you. It's definitely just a Nature's Prophet thing. So unfortunately he does lose the early creeps. Usually this will not be a problem if you try this build. But yeah, with one Leech Seed on any melee creep, you're gonna push in the creep wave, and it's gonna basically be impossible for the enemy to run into you. And if they do, they're gonna be running into a massive creep wave that has all been healed. You can also see he's going to be able to trade with the Spirit Breaker. Now, literally, unfortunately, he's against one of the most dominant safe laners in Dota. I genuinely believe Furion is a obnoxious hero that it does way too much in the early levels in the safe lane in particular. So yeah, really don't like playing against that hero. From there, CEB takes Nature's Grasp at level 2. I think this is lane dependent, and honestly, I expected him to take Living Armor. I expected him to take Living Armor because I feel like Living Armor is just better for trading against Furion. Furion also bought a Blightstone, so like you kind of have somewhat of an armor problem. And so yeah, I actually expected him to take Living Armor and just use it on himself for 15 seconds of 6 armor, just so he could play the creep wave and heal up a little bit. It's 45 HP. Obviously, it's not a lot of HP. You don't really use Living Armor mostly for the HP. It's really for the armor. So yeah, I was surprised to see him take Grasp. I mean, I will say as an offlaner, if you don't max Grasp, you're gonna have a hard time pushing out creep waves, and so maybe that's his justification. He doesn't want to delay a later timing with multiple points in Grasp, but at the same time, he will take Living Armor, so let's move ahead. Now, getting into the 6-minute mark, he actually ends up getting a kill onto the Prophet, and as this fight starts, it actually looks really bad for him. He's getting chased down, charged by a Spirit Breaker, the Nature's Prophet is full HP, how does this turn into a kill for him? But it really just comes down to the fact that you heal a lot on this hero. Also, when your passive kicks in, I don't think a lot of people know this, when you move into the trees, you get 12% bonus movement speed, which is a ton, but more importantly, you get 40% self-heal and regen amp. So when you heal yourself with Living Armor and Leech Seed, and then you have Tangos going, you all get these amped up. So this hero just has like, not infinite sustain obviously, but it's brutally hard to pressure out. I mean, as I said, we're talking about a Nature's Prophet lane where he's doing more than fine. Right? He's not owning, but he's doing well. Most melee heroes are zoned out at this point. Like, trust me, they're zoned out at this point. But with the Tango going on in the tree line, is 15.4 regen. On top of that, he gets a nice grasp onto the Nature's Prophet when disengaging, which is a good way to protect yourself, but also get out damage, and the Hoodwink's able to follow it up with a nice bushwhack to keep him in the grasp. Obviously, laning Treant Protector with a hero like Hoodwink is typically what you want to aim for. I would say Hoodwink's good, I could see something like Shadow Demon being good, Skywrath Mage, Shadow Shaman, there's a lot of options you could go for to keep people in grasp, or at least, you know, lock them down and then set up for the grasp. But yeah, the Nature's Grasp does a lot of damage. He's able to pop his mango, and you can see when he moves away from the trees, he actually loses 4 HP regen. So it's super crazy how good it is to move into the tree line to heal on this hero, and it makes it one of the best sustaining heroes in the game. And of course, this applies to the position 5 role, and it's part of the reason why I despise Treant Protector. I literally hate this hero. But yeah, he's able to dive the tower, just healing up from the Leech Seed the entire time he chases. Even though he's tanking the tower, he's healing from the Leech Seed. And yeah, he ends up getting a kill, scoring him his phase boots, and now he ships out a salve. I actually expected him to look to go base, but I guess because he didn't have enough mana for TP, he decides to ship a salve and stay in the lane. Now, one of the main selling points for Treant Protector is level 7. At this point, he's maximized on early stat items, and I think this is important to note because he's clearly building in a way that is just built around Leech Seed. He actually hasn't skilled Living Armor at all up until this point, which is definitely surprising because this ability is pretty damn broken even at level 1. It's a good value point, which is honestly why I actually think taking the second point in Nature's Grasp, which is one of the worst scaling abilities in the game, is like really kind of just dumb. Not to obviously insult Seb too much. I just think that the point in Living Armor is far better rather than the second point in Grasp. I think it's just far better. Either way, fight breaks out, and this is where the hero really just does a lot of damage, right? The Phase Boots Windlace is going to allow him to close the gap and really take advantage of his high base damage. So the fight breaks out, he goes for a nice overgrowth, and maybe he could have tried to wait a second or close the distance to get the Shadow Demon and maybe even the Spirit Breaker, but Spirit Breaker goes down to a Bushwhack, he Leech Seeds the Pango, and now Pango just takes a ton of damage, because I don't think people realize Leech Seed at max level is a 300 damage nuke, actually 325 damage nuke, so it's a very high damage nuke. It's on only a 12-second cooldown. It slows, but most importantly, it heals. And the reason why I say most importantly it heals is because it's an AoE heal that's pure, right? Healing is always pure. You have to keep that in mind, right? That's why Warlock, when you're playing Warlock, it's almost never good to use your heal aggressively in the lane. Situationally, it's okay, but typically it's bad because you always get more value when there's no magic resistance in play. And so, of course, Alishi just turns trades, it turns fights as they take out the mid Pango, giving him a ton of gold, right? He really caught the Pangolier off guard, doing half of his health in the matter of seconds, and Overgrowth's range is just insane. I forgot to mention too, Overgrowth does about 250 damage at level 1 in a massive AoE on, I would argue, a relatively short cooldown for what this ability does. Now, unsurprisingly, by level 10 he's going to max his Q. Maybe slightly surprisingly, instead of taking Nature's Grasp cooldown at level 10, he actually maxes out the Q, opting for the damage and the slow. It's very nice to get a lot of levels on Treant for obvious reasons. Eventually being able to max Living Armor is fantastic. In a game like this, it's definitely great. There is a bit of a counter in the Shadow Demon because Shadow Demon does purge consistently whoever he goes on, and that does get rid of Living Armor. So you have a bit of a problem there, but other than that, being able to give armor against the likes of a Night Stalker and Nature's Prophet is fantastic. So building up the levels is great. And then in terms of the Veil, I think he just believes that this item is good. It's a great game for the Veil as well. He has 4 heroes that do almost only magic damage. It doesn't help Ursa at all, but in terms of the early game, it's a cheap, very effective item. I actually think Veil is one of the most underrated items in Dota, and I'm not just saying that. I actually think Veil is like criminally underrated. Same thing with Drums. I think these two items are stupidly underrated. Like, sometimes it blows my mind. He picks up the Veil, 18% more magic damage on whoever you cast it on. And by the way, a very low cooldown, a 22-second cooldown, and it's a 16-second duration. 16-second duration of 5 all stats, not bad. It's 1 extra all stat from the crown you buy. So yeah, you can see you're still going to play Treant Protector gameplay from time to time. You're not very good at solo killing people, so the main goal of Treant Protector is really just to take team fights and pushing creep waves. You're very good at pushing in creep waves. You're good at farming in that regard. When you are farming, you want to try to use your Nature's Grasp to where it touches a tree, because if you read the last line, vines deal 50% more damage if they touch a tree, and it does half damage to creeps. So it's not very good against creeps, but you still want to connect it to a tree. So instead of doing 30 damage per second, it does 45, and that's obviously quite the improvement. And honestly, when you play this hero and when you watch this hero in team fights, which we're about to do, it doesn't seem very explosive. And the reality is it's not. It's kind of a clunky hero, its cooldowns are not that short, and it's not solo killing anyone. At least, not a core. And so you'll see as this fight breaks out, he goes for an overgrowth, trying to save his Ursa. Pretty reasonable, the guy had enrage, he thought he could save him. Then he's going to apply a massive veil onto multiple heroes, and from there, the fight looks pretty over. However, that's the nice thing about Treant Protector. With 1500 HP and potentially a lot of armor if you living armor yourself, and then Leech Seed heal, and then Wand, you're way tankier than you might imagine. The enemy team actually thinks he's way less tanky than he actually is, and they end up getting really baited in trying to kill him. He lives their go, and they're able to super turn it around. He gets mana booted and pops another Leech Seed, and the healing is just kicking in. You can see everyone is just getting healed up and healed up and healed up. And these healing strats, I honestly think there's some pretty cool healing strats you could run. Now, eventually, in terms of talents, at level 11, he takes Nature's Grasp cooldown, which is pretty obvious why you would take it. You know, if you're maxing out your Q, you want to have a way lower cooldown so you can farm more and fight more. Then at level 12, he's going to go back for his Overgrowth, maxing that out, pretty standard. In terms of items, he is rushing BKB, and I think it makes sense. It's really, even though the enemy team isn't like an insane amount of magic damage, it's enough, and it's largely just about the control. You do a lot of damage, right? You do a lot of damage if you can walk up and hit people. It's just how it is. However, you're going to get controlled if you cast your spells, you know what I mean? Even casting Overgrowth, the average Treant Protector support kind of needs Blink to get off any sort of decent Overgrowth. Otherwise, it's typically going to be a 1 to 2 man Overgrowth, at least at a high level. Maybe in your average pub, people clump up a bit more, and so you can get these big Overgrowths, but we'll see in this fight here, he even tries to get it off as he gets chased down a bit, but just way too damn tanky. Way too much HP, they're committing on him really, really hard, and the Nature's Prophet ends up TPing in here, which is just kind of insane. I can't fathom why he would TP like that. But yeah, you're also a really hard counter to Pangolier. Heroes like Pangolier, Ember Spirit, Void Spirit, you kind of just cover your bases really well. Like, you're super good against these mobility heroes. And it's honestly very clear as we see him lock up the Pango in that fight and just destroy the Nature's Prophet with the Overgrowth. And he's still not dead. You know what I mean? You're just still not dead. He's still alive, just walking it off. So last thing I'd like to talk about in today's video is the Shard and BKB. BKB is BKB. It lets you run in, but more importantly is the Shard. If you don't know what Treant's Shard does, when he's walking through the trees, which by the way, let me quickly explain it. How the ability works is if you don't take damage for 3 seconds, you can walk through the trees. That's it. That's all you need to know. However, it gives you the bonus movement speed, and on top of that, the Shard amps everything. So the Shard amps the movement speed bonus, so instead of 12% bonus movement speed, you get 27% bonus movement speed. So you just zoom through the trees, man. Like, you are zooming. And on top of that, then you can root. So if the enemy is near a tree, they'll get rooted for 2 seconds. If they're not near a tree, they'll get rooted for 1 second. And of course, on top of that, it does damage. And you'll see in this fight here, it's just really, really good setup. By the way, it works through BKB, just like Overgrowth. It's basically like a mini Overgrowth. So we'll see in this fight here, the Earth Spirit is going to kick in the Night Stalker, and it's really nice on this hero to have the Shard, because your Q and your W are obviously just slows. So a lot of heroes can kite them out. You know what I mean? A lot of heroes just don't care about Leech Seed and don't care about Grasp getting into the mid game. However, they really do care about getting put into a Q, which does 90 damage per second, a huge amount of damage at this point in the game, and then bopped. Right, and the Shard does a lot of damage, right? It does 200 total damage. And by the way, it does have a cooldown, right? So the cooldown is 10 seconds, but that's obviously quite short. So you just basically get a 4th ability for your Shard. It's one of the better Shards in the game for sure. And of course you get movement speed when split pushing as well, right? It's just really valuable to be able to move around the map. So you can push in the side lanes with your Q and then connect to the team fights. It's just very, very good. And I mean, look at the impact he's about to have in this team fight. This is where we're gonna end the video because I mean, this team fight just shows why this build is certainly viable, and honestly part of the reason I like the Veil. They go onto the enemy Silencer, they're going to take him out. So they catch the Silencer, and Seb calls over his Ursa. He says, even though it's only us 2 versus them 3, we can take the fight. I have maxed out Overgrowth, and I have my Shard. This Furion will be completely locked down and not be able to auto-attack at all, because you can't auto-attack in the Overgrowth, right? You just cannot. And it's a 5-second root. 5 seconds. It's 5 seconds. And then if you're near a tree, which they are, you get to root for another 2 seconds. He has 7 seconds of root on one target. That's crazy. So he roots them up. Ursa wasn't even close, right? But then he gets the chain follow-up onto the Furion, doing a ton of... I mean, look at these right clicks. Right? Look at these right clicks. He's chunking as the Ursa eventually comes through with the cleave. and takes them both out. I mean, it's just so much damage, so much control. These early points in overgrowth or earlier higher levels in overgrowth compared to support Treants definitely are very noticeable. And the damage from it, the damage from the Q and the damage from the ulti, when combined with an item like Veil, is nasty damage. And I think he understands that because he ends up going Kaya. Let's actually see what he queues up before we end off the video, because he ends up buying a Kaya, but he doesn't complete it. I could certainly see an E-Blade, just because then whoever you root, you E-Blade, you combo, and they just get destroyed. I could also see him just going something like Blink. Like, Blink seems super reasonable for this build, because you can actually Blink still while invis and hit them with the shard. It's really quite good. And of course, you can just Blink with overgrowth, so that's nice as well. Oh no, he gives up a Radiance? That's gotta be a meme. There's no shot he was actually gonna buy a Radiance. So it was, okay, apparently it's some sort of just casual Kaya, which definitely helps with your mana pool and mana regen. But there's no shot he was actually going to buy Radiance. That's got to be a meme. But okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this build just as much as I did. I just think it's cool. It's definitely a cool take on Dota. It's a cool take on Treant. And these are the type of things I love. And by the way, I'm so excited that they announced the patch for March 6th. I cannot wait. I'm going to be spamming videos. I'm just so excited to talk about a patch. I can't wait. So if you're not subscribed to the channel and you're excited for the patch coming in how many days? 10, 15 days, something like that. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!